Okay, we saw in the last video that I actually had an error that had to deal with my load for the product table, right? And so we have some information that we need to use to be able to troubleshoot what happened here, right? So one output area is to take a look at this particular dialog at the bottom, right? And what I can see here is that there was some kind of error, but I can't read the whole thing. So another place I can look at where things occurred is up here in the execution results, right? And now I can see in this dialog that there are several things that happen. Okay. Now I can see from where the red X is that there are some issues, right? And I can see in this one that it says that that there was some specifications that seemed to be cut out. So what I'm actually going to do is paste that into a notepad so I can see. All right, an error occurred. There may be an error posted before this. Okay, so that one's not going to work. So let's hit this. All right, let's go back. And I don't need this, so. Okay. So it looks like I have a primary key constraint issue, right? And I cannot insert duplicate keys into the DBO products. So what this is telling me is that somewhere in my data that I actually have the same value entered twice, all right? So when I go back to my data flow here, that means in the load product, I need to have some kind of consideration that looks at some of our data issues. All right. So let's kind of look at how to handle that. Okay. So one of the things to make sure of, which can happen occasionally, is there could be some issues with duplicate data inside our data warehouse. So one thing to come back and check is come back to our SQL Server Management Studio and take a look at what data is currently into our tables. Now, we already ran this select statement earlier, but let's run it one more time. Okay, so now we have data. We can see that we have data in our product subtype table, product type table, but not in our product table. But yet we're getting some kind of error code. So this makes me believe that since no data got into this table, perhaps that the integration services was configured incorrectly. So I'm going to come back and take a look at the integration services module, and I can see the problem immediately. So one thing to take note of, and this is a very common issue, it happens to me frequently. Well, I say not as frequently as I would imagine, but if you notice that it was an easy mistake for me to overlook that I actually put into my destination as my accounting database. So what I really needed to do is use my data warehouse. Come down and select product, right? Now let's take a look at the mappings one more time. And this is something that if I had been more familiar with my data warehouse, I should have been able to pick up. If you notice, we are not using all of the data columns from the accounting database. We're not using raw material or the amount of raw material. We're only using these three fields. And now the mappings reflect that properly. So the error that I had to do with not specifying my data warehouse destination properly, right? And so it was a good exercise to kind of see how we can debug our results and be able to get through some of that process. So now that I've configured it properly, I'm going to go ahead and save it. I'm going to go back to my database and I want to delete all the data again. and I'm going to execute this query. All right, so my data tables are empty. All right, I'm going to come back to my integration services project, go back to control flow, and I am going to hit start, and let's see if this will run without causing me any issues. All right, so everything is a green arrow, so that's good to go. All right, and obviously if I was trying to load data from a table into the same table, I am definitely going to get a primary key issue because you can't duplicate data inside those tables. All right, let's come back here and let's take a look at this, and let's go ahead and execute this. And now we can see that we have data in our product table, we have data in our subtype table, and then we have data in our type table. Okay, so this little short series helps us with dealing with these product tables. We'll have additional series following this to get into how to load the batch table, as well as how to load that batch table. Here we go. That's what I wanted to be able to show you. We're going to be loading the batch table later. We're going to end up using a CSV file for that, and then we're going to come back and look at the plant, load the plant and the machine type, as well as the machine tables as well. And when we look at what is available inside our accounting database, right, we can see that there's going to be some manipulation involved because not everything is perfectly prepared as it was for those product tables. Okay, so we're going to stop right there for this particular series, and we'll pick up on those other ones here shortly after.